Okay, remember that they are changing my voice. Now, I can't stress enough to you that what is going on has to do with the major threats to America, which are white, Jewish, and LGBT supremacy. ISIS is a minor threat. ISIS has killed much less people in America, okay, and probably with soldiers abroad as well, than people are killed in Chicago in 1 year, okay? And if that's not the case, it's ballpark. They are not much of a threat. The Chinese are not much of a threat. Immigrants are not much of a threat. White, Jewish, and LGBT supremacy is a threat. People who think that they should assert the so-called, quote-unquote, superiority, mind you, that's what they think, of Western values are a huge threat to America. Bear with me, you'll see that I'm right. First of all, let's talk about three groupings of people. Major political groupings. One, there are conservatives. Two, there are corporatists who claim to be liberals. Corporatists are basically conservatives. Why? Because they want to conserve the social order and or expand their corporate order, which is a part of the existing oppressor order. Three, it is the idea of being a liberal that you get at this point. They might change the definition, mind you, at this point when you look up what it means to be a liberal. Someone who is for human rights, who has an open mind, who doesn't want the government to push them around, who didn't want cancel culture, which comes from corporatists, to counsel them for telling the truth about something. Somebody who is reasonable. Somebody who, if they heard this video, they'd know I'm telling the truth. And they would at least want to be able to agree without being blacklisted, targeted, harassed, sexually harassed, bullied. My goodness. The other groups think that you should bully women and force them to see it your way. They think you should turn a blind eye to the problems of rape and child molestation. Because when they reinforce the pre-existing orders, newsflash, you're reinforcing the rape of Europa in its modern-day form, which includes other groups as well. Zeus, Pan, Mars, Poseidon, Dionysus, you name it. On record, those Greek deities were rapists. They're no one to look up to, no one to emulate, no one to embrace. The rape of the Sabines. If the Sabine women were here today, if that rape was based on a literal event, and it certainly is, those women were here today, would they agree with the rapist? Or would they agree with the one telling the truth who hates rape more than anyone who's ever lived? You see, liberal values in their true form, not current Democratic Party values. That's politics. That's corporatism. But liberal values in their true form are like the best friend of America as a secular state. And again, I'm not necessarily a secularist, mind. In fact, I'm not. But I know that if this country was actually being true to the Constitution, that they wouldn't be targeting me and that they'd be better off than if they're not being true to their secular values unless they're obeying God through me in a theocratic state, which I imagine they're not ever going to do, right? Because they're not that smart and deep and fair and just and right and good and so on and so forth. No offense to anybody. These are the facts. Sometimes the truth hurts. So should you assert the so-called superiority? And they're not superior, mind you, of Western values? No. Why? Because Western values are not the ideal liberal values, which is treating people fair, not sabotaging people's genes, to try to feign equality, not cheating people out of their generational righteous inheritance, not trying to do the Cain, persecuting Abel, screening him out, but actually giving people their human rights, their civil rights, their constitutional rights, and not oppressing them with social clubs, corporate groups, political groups, government groups, military, police, you name it. Not controlling who fraternizes with who with fraternities. not controlling social relations with groups that socially engineer. Should you assert the superiority of moral precision? Yes. Should you declare moral precision greater than Western value? Yes, that's what Jesus did. He went to the West, so to speak, in Rome, and he said, your values are wrong, and that moral precision is divine. To the point where we said, why don't you judge for yourselves what is right? Because everyone inherently knows right from wrong. But few people have the heart to live moral precision and be right and righteous and Mr. Right on the right path or Mrs. Right on the right path. Especially if you're white, you should be insulted when you see the picture on the screen. People in a corrupt country, a dog-eat-dog society, a crony capitalist society, where people who are communists are in cults, where people think that if you want a more fair economic system, you must be a communist, you must be a Stalinist. Of course. Ridiculous. Where there's police brutality, high crime rates, murder more, Baltimore, Sin City, Las Vegas, Chirac. That sound like a place to raise your kids? Fallen Angels, Los Angeles. Imperialism, neocolonialism, workplace bullying, gangstalking, sexual harassment. Should you assert the superiority of that? The continuity of the social clubs that were for slavery and segregation? Should you assert the superiority of people who have the same cultural values as those who owned slaves? People who did the Native American genocide? People who came up with eugenics and are still enforcing it? Of course not. Only a sick SOB would do that. Gaslighting? Rape by deception? Accepting evil? Turning out kids? Education systems that are a sick joke? Drug addiction? High crime? Contrast games? We say, oh, it's just stupid Americans. Yes, we have nothing to do with that. Where does Freemasonry come from? It comes from London, right? It has roots in Egyptian religion, as they say, but it comes in its Western and common form from, not London, but England. The stonemasons of old. People who take contracts from the kleptocratic, corrupt governing class and social engineer on their behalf. And as they say, to be a 33rd degree Mason, you have to donate $1 million. If that's not a corrupt, crony capitalist organization, what the hell is? In Pike's book, they want you to accept the fucking Luciferian doctrine. Lucifer is a rapist and a murderer and a liar and a thief and a cheat and a mass drugging dog. If you think you should assert the superiority of trickle-down, mass murder, mass rape, blood money, theatrics, propaganda, and falsehood, and all the other forms of evil, then you've lost your fucking mind. You've lost it. You need help. And the mental health system is notorious for not helping people. We throw more money at mental health than we do at homelessness as a society. And look how everyone's out of their fucking minds. Thank you.